It was a morning like any other in the bustling streets of Jerusalem, and the sun cast its golden rays upon the city. The temple stood proudly against the azure sky, and the air was filled with the sounds of market vendors haggling and the footsteps of the hurried passers-by. Yet, on this ordinary day, a scene unfolded in the temple courts that would etch itself into the annals of history, a moment of profound mercy and grace. A hushed tension filled the air as a woman was forcefully dragged through the dusty streets by a group of stern-faced scribes and Pharisees. The woman, her face etched with shame, stumbled over the uneven cobblestones as she was brought before Jesus, who was teaching a gathering of people near the temple. The Pharisees, eager to trap Jesus and test his commitment to the law of Moses, declared, "Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what do you say?" Their eyes bore into Jesus, anticipating his response, hoping to find a flaw in his teachings. Jesus, however, responded not with condemnation, but with a profound and unexpected wisdom. He bent down and began writing with his finger in the dust on the ground, as if to create a moment of reflection. The accusers persisted, pressing him for an answer. Finally, Jesus stood up and uttered words that would echo through the ages. "Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her." As the words hung in the air, a silence descended upon the crowd. The scribes and Pharisees, confronted by the weight of their own shortcomings, slowly began to disperse, leaving Jesus alone with the woman caught in adultery. The scene shifted from one of accusation to a profound encounter with mercy and grace. In the stillness that followed, Jesus looked at the woman and asked, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" The woman, trembling, and perhaps expecting the worst, replied, "No one, Lord." In a moment that exemplified the heart of Jesus' ministry, he declared, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more." The woman, enveloped in the warmth of unexpected mercy, experienced a transformative encounter with the divine. The weight of shame that had burdened her was lifted, replaced by a newfound understanding of grace. Jesus, in his wisdom, had not condoned her actions, but had offered a pathway to redemption and a call to a life marked by righteousness. As the woman walked away from the temple courts, the echoes of that encounter lingered in her heart. She carried with her the realization that, in the presence of Jesus, the labels of society and the stones of judgment could not define her. Instead, she had been offered a fresh start, a chance to leave the dust of her past behind and step into a future bathed in the light of mercy. The story of the woman caught in adultery speaks not only to the cultural dynamics of first-century Jerusalem, but also to the timeless human condition. It is a narrative of brokenness and redemption, of judgment and mercy, a narrative that resonates across the ages, inviting each generation to confront its own predispositions and grasp the transformative power of grace. In the broader context of Jesus' teachings, this episode stands as a beacon of hope for all who find themselves ensnared by the snares of sin and shame. Jesus' response challenges the self-righteousness of the accusers, inviting them to examine their own hearts before casting stones at another. It is a call to humility, a recognition that all humanity shares in the fallenness that necessitates divine mercy. The woman caught in adultery became a symbol not only of forgiveness, but also of the capacity for transformation when touched by the grace of God. Her encounter with Jesus unfolded in a public setting, but it was also an intensely personal moment, a moment of liberation and restoration. The story underscores the profound truth that, in the face of divine mercy, condemnation is replaced by compassion, and judgment gives way to the opportunity for a fresh beginning. Jesus did not ignore the woman's sin. Rather, he acknowledged it and offered a pathway to freedom. In his response, the woman found not just a pardon, but an invitation to a new way of living, a life characterized by righteousness, and a departure from the patterns that had ensnared her. As the news of this encounter spread through the city, it ignited conversations and reflections. The Pharisees, who had sought to entrap Jesus, were left with a challenge to their own understanding of righteousness. The people who witnessed the events at the temple that day carried with them a story of grace that would be shared, retold, and passed down through the generations. The story of the woman caught in adultery is a reminder that in the kingdom of God, grace is not earned but freely given. It challenges believers to reflect on their own responses to sin and to cultivate a spirit of compassion and mercy. It is a call to extend forgiveness, recognizing the shared humanity that binds all people in the need for redemption. In the broader narrative of the Gospels, the encounter at the temple represents a microcosm of Jesus' overarching mission. He came not to condemn the world, but to save it. His ministry was characterized by a radical inclusivity that embraced sinners, outcasts, and those deemed unworthy by societal standards. As followers of Jesus reflect on the story of the woman caught in adultery, they are confronted with a profound question. How do they respond to those caught in the webs of sin and shame? The narrative challenges them to emulate the mercy of Christ, recognizing that each person is a candidate for divine transformation and redemption. The woman caught in adultery, though unnamed in the biblical account, became a symbol of the countless individuals who have encountered the mercy of Jesus throughout history. Her story is woven into the fabric of the gospel message, a message that declares the possibility of forgiveness, restoration, and a new life. As believers engage with this narrative, they are invited to partake in the ongoing story of grace, extending the same mercy they have received to others in need. In the echoes of that dusty Jerusalem street, where condemnation gave way to compassion, the timeless truth resounds. Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more. It is an invitation to walk in the freedom of forgiveness, leaving the stones of judgment behind and embracing the transformative power of God's love.